Hey everybody, it's Melissa Harris, and I am going to talk to you today about 5 things you need to teach your kids right now, depending on their age and where they're at mentally and academically. But these are 5 really important things that you should teach your kids right now. And I'm sharing this from my heart, from my experience. I have 2 sons right now, they're grown, beautiful sons, 26 and 31, and 4 grandsons coming up behind them. And these are things that I wish I had taught my sons. And hopefully someday I'll have a chance to teach my grandsons. But because they're at a distance, I can't teach them these things right now. So I'm going to share with their parents as well. Number one, life is hard. Teach your kids, life is hard. Kids, they don't they get confused and they get into depression and anxiety because they expect everything to go well, everything to go their way. And that just simply isn't true. And we know this. So hard times come to make us and not break us. Our kids need to understand this. They need to understand that the hard times is really what builds our character and makes us stronger. And so when hard times come, they don't last for long. They pass very quickly. They last longer if you are feeling defeated or you're complaining and you're kind of in your pity party, which I understand. Everybody goes through that hard time where they feel so alone and so sad and so down, and it's okay. And it's okay to come and talk to you. Let them know that you're there for them. You are not their enemy. You're there for them if they need someone to talk to, somebody to express their feelings, and they need a safe place to be able to express themselves. So hopefully it's you. Hopefully it's you, mom or dad. If not, then maybe a therapist would be in order because even therapists need therapy. Okay. So nobody's perfect. There is no perfect parent. There is no perfect child. Once we get that understanding, I think we can go forward and everything will be okay. So, yeah, life is hard. Hard times come to build our character. Hard times also teach us compassion for others. How would we have learned compassion for others if we didn't have hard times of our own? And I know this because I have a lot of experience with sadness and depression and being suicidal and being homeless and so many things I could share. And I'm going to be sharing little bits and pieces of my life because I feel like other people need to understand and know that they are not alone. But I want to share this with you because our goal is always that our kids are better than us. It's never about a competition, it's always to make them better. We want them to be better, we want them to be stronger, and we want them to be packed with information and knowledge that we may or may not have had when we were their age. So that's it. And in number one, oh, one last part. Life is hard, and you don't have to share it with your kids, but this is funny. Okay. I saw a t-shirt that said life is hard and it's even harder when you're stupid. Which we've all had those moments, right? Where you look back and like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? So yeah, life is harder when you're stupid and you reap what you sow. I'm not into the karma thing. I'm into reaping and sowing. If you sow love, you will reap love. If you sow hate, you will reap hate. So there is a law of reaping and sowing, and there is a scripture on it. I'm going to share it with you. It says, "Do not be deceived." This is um, Galatians 6, chapter 6, verses 7 through 9. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. For he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption. But he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season, not when you want it, okay, we will reap if we do not lose heart, which means we will reap a good harvest if we don't grow faint in heart. So I think that's really, really important, something to put in your arsenal. And yes, life is hard. It can be painful, But you know what? You'll come out of it smelling like a rose if you just kind of glide through it and know who is ultimately in charge, and it's not you. Okay. So now, and number two, teach them to value and protect their right to be educated and to stay in school. Pay attention. That time goes so quickly and you can't get it back. And you don't want to be in your 40s or 50s trying to go get your GED. This is the time now. The education is there for a purpose and a reason. And so you must value that. You will be so glad you did. And then if you don't, you'll be you'll have something even more to make your life even more hard because you didn't take your education seriously. I'm so glad that I took my education seriously. Even though some of the decisions I made, you would think that I had no education at all, but hey, that's life. And I learned from it and I was able to grow from it. And now I'm able to help you and try to share some of my knowledge with you about it. So that's a big thing. And to be teachable, listen sometimes. Close your mouth and open your ears. You have one mouth and two ears, which to me means listening is more important than talking all the time. The other thing is if you mix up the letters of the words listen and silent, they both have the same letters. I learned that a long time ago. I didn't make that up. So, but there's something to that. And also staying in school, being educated, you want to be able to share your knowledge, just like I'm doing now. Because the things that I've learned from life lessons and education wise, which I'll share in other videos, but you want to share your knowledge with others and encourage others, because of what you have learned. You also want to be the change that you want to see in this world. If you don't have any good friends, be the good friend. If you don't, if you want people to, be more kind, be that kind person. Be the change that you want to see in the world in a good way, of course, because we're here to make a difference and we're here to help each other and to make a huge difference. And as you watch the news and you see what's going on in the world, it's quite disheartening, but we are here to make a difference. So yes, make a difference. Number three, teach your kids to save their money and value the dollar, and that their needs are way more important than their wants. Meaning that a lot of times kids feel the pressure from social media, which social media, I have a beef really with social media and these kids. They don't understand that Facebook has the nickname Fake Book for a reason, because a lot of people are not showing the sad, dark spaces of their life. They're just sharing the stuff that they want you to see and people to be all, ooh, ah, look at that, and get jealous and compare yourself. And it's just totally not real. It's really not real. So don't get caught up in that, please. That's another thing you can add to things to share with your kids. A lot of it's not real. A lot of kids end up comparing themselves and they think their lives just are so bad because we're seeing everybody with these great lives and it simply isn't real, people. So teach your kids and let them understand that their needs are way more important than their wants. And oftentimes they just want something because somebody else has it. It doesn't even, they don't even really want it. They just want it because somebody else has it and they want to be able to say, oh, I have just as much money as you and I can get just as much as you. So I'm going to get, those shoes, or I'm going to get, that jewelry or that, belt or what I mean? Whatever the case may be, it's so silly because later on, all that money could have went more towards things that you need rather than worrying about the world and focusing on things that you want, where money does not come easy and money is not free. So that brings us up to the next point, very important point. And I'm speaking from the heart, but I had to jot some things down because I'm close to 60 and my brain is full. I have an old computer. What can I say? It's not old, it's seasoned. You want to teach them about credit scores. Teach them, make them understand that But when they're in school, they are judged by their test scores. When they become adults, they're going to be judged by their credit scores. So this is very important. They also need to learn about identity theft. Kids are out here on these apps and subscribing to things and giving out their information all willy-nilly, not knowing who is on the other side or who is lost in cyberspace. So they need to understand that you can't just go throwing your information out there, not knowing. They need to run these things through the parents. That's why they have parent filters and kid protection and stuff like that online, because there's a lot of people out there and a lot of predators out there that are trying to get a hold of your identification. And so like my dad wouldn't give me my social security card until I moved out the house. So the other great thing I thought that I have to share about my dad is he taught me responsibility. When I was old enough to work, I was old enough to contribute to the household. And this is one of the reasons why kids don't move, because they're not taught responsibility. They're allowed to live in the house until they're 30 and 40 years old. And I totally disagree with that. I think it's completely unacceptable, especially when you raise them up. When they turn 18 and they're adults, it's time to move on. Some kids are really good, and I wouldn't mind that. I see where some parents are okay with their kids being, because they are responsible and they are helping with the household and the chores and making things easier for their parents. But if it's opposite of that, if your kids are more of a liability as opposed to an asset at an adult age, it's time to rethink the structure. Now, my dad, when I was 13 years old, my first job was at Taco Bell. So every time I got paid, my dad opened a bank account, my own personal bank account, made me deposit $5 to $10 a week into that bank account every week. He kept my bank book. I was not allowed to make withdrawals. And I had to contribute to the household, meaning I had to give him a part of my paycheck every time I got paid, because I was sharing in the electricity and the water and the food. And I'm getting older now, so I'm eating much more than I did when I was a baby. So I understood that. And I didn't really grasp it or appreciate it until I was older, until I got older and I had my own kids. And so although I didn't do it, follow that through completely like I probably should have, that's something that I kind of regret too, but that was something my dad taught me. He taught me the value of a dollar by saving money and having to share in the household expenses. It made me think about how I spent my money, but I still ended up filing bankruptcy at the age of 21 years old because I got rebellious. He wouldn't co-sign for me a car. So I'm like, I'm going to show you. So I ran my credit card bills up. I mean, it was crazy, crazy, crazy. I told you, when you're stupid, life is harder. So that was a stupid period in my life, among many others. The final principle that I think you should teach your kids right now, number 5, this is probably should be number 1, and that is to put God first, to develop their spiritual relationship, with God. He made us, believe it or not. We breathe 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without any effort on our part. That is God. And they need to learn to honor their parents, their mom and their dad, so that things will go well for them. And it says in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verses 11 through 13. I will read it to you. This is from the New King James Version, as the last verse that I read to you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, like the fish and everything is amazing. And he rested the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. So your parents are not your enemies. If they were, they would have dropped you off on the side of the road a long time ago. You can tell your kids that. This is what I told my kids. But tell your kids that you are not the enemy, because I know that when they get into teenage, they act very much like you are an enemy. I mean, God bless you. I'm praying for all y'all with teenagers, because I understand some teenagers are really good. They're really rare. But hormones, and we get it. I mean, I get it. I was a teenager myself, and I don't think I was the most pleasant either. So it's okay. But anyway, that's all I have for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please visit my website, melissafunds.com. Check out some of my stuff over there. And you can read my bio. Have your kids read my bio. I have, I tell a little bit more about myself there, and I will be sharing more videos if I see that you like, comment, and share, because it lets YouTube know that this material is helpful and I can continue to make the videos. So thank you so much. Take care and be well.